asked me to describe this movie, I would describe it as a grief film taking place during and after a military disaster. Now, this is a very unique take on a zombie film with a subgenre that's filled with pretty basic genre movies, and except for a lot of genres, but come on zombies here. And I do like that about the movie, but I still feel mixed overall because some of the movie just entirely didn't work for me. So the actual plot of this movie tells the story of Ava, who helps the government clean up the bodies after a military disaster. Going right into the pros, at the center of this movie is grief, and I think they do a good job with telling that story in the ending. We'll get to that, how I feel about it entirely, but I do think they do a good job with that. This movie is shot really well too, and when we do get shots involving color, like there's like one pink shot that I think is also really pretty. It's not entirely film, but I do like that aspect of it. The main performance that we get from our lead, Ava, is done really well too. I really like that aspect of the movie. And I think the zombie stuff, when we do get it, is pretty interesting, and I do like that. And I can say the take was very interesting, and I never got bored during the movie too. Even though generally I would get bored, I think I would if I knew what type of movie this was before I went to see it. But I was surprised by that aspect of this movie. Going right into our mixed is our main two leads. This was so close to being a pro. This has nothing to do with their acting or anything like that. This has everything to do with their motivations, which definitely colors the characters themselves. I do like the characters themselves, but their motivations, something about a choice they make with the girl's motivation, I do see where they're going with, but if they made one slight change of one thing that she did that she didn't do, it would have hit so much better. So I wish they would have changed that. I'm also mixed on the ending. To me, I understand what they were going for. However, I have a lot of questions in my head logically of how that works. And that's mainly going to the spoilers, actually, because I don't want to spoil the ending for anyone, but like the logic, I don't fully get there. Future me here. So as much as I do like the zombies in this movie when we do get them, I do have some questions on the different type of zombies. We do see progression of the zombies and how they get to a point in this movie. But my question is, there's one zombie in particular that's a very kind of like a moment that I didn't expect with the grief of the zombie. And there's one moment when the zombie attacks. So my question is, what does it take to pick on the moment, that where the zombie, a moment with that zombie that's grieving in one scene, and then the zombie attacking? I do like it, but it's just a question that does cross my mind for a single second when I really think about it. That makes sense. And going into the negatives, the bad CGI fire. Now, this is a very small part of the movie, I will say, but they just can't get the fire right. I think I've said it about so many movies, but it's not great. There's some obviously green screen moments too that are noticeable. Again, a small part of the movie, but there's some obvious green screen, and something about the male's motivation rubs me entirely the wrong way. And I don't like that. So, yeah, wasn't a fan of that. It gives me like, and I'll talk about that in spoilers, so I don't want to give away his motivation, but it just rubs me the wrong way. And at one point in this movie, they make a choice of having these two characters that we follow get split. However, they don't handle that transition very well. And the scene we do get that we follow, I think, is done well too. But the way they handled the split, I have a lot of questions. And at the end, they have a question, but they don't really answer it. And I feel like they could have handled that split. It felt like an awkward thing to do in the movie, and they just didn't know how to handle it. So that's pretty awkward. It was just an awkward little split. I wish they would have handled that part of the movie significantly better. Let's talk about another small negative for me is going to be during the movie, they make a sound with the teeth. And at first, I didn't find it annoying, but the more they did it in the movie, I just started getting a little bit annoyed each time they did the teeth sound. About spoilers, as I said, grief is the center of this movie. And Ava learns, when she finds her husband eventually, after escaping the psycho, that he cheated on her. And I think that gut punch worked and it was working until she revealed that she cheated first. I get we all have flaws as characters, but if they just made her where she didn't cheat, it would have hit significantly better. And I really wish that. And the male, his selfishness with his family, it gives deadbeat dad vibes for me. That's how I take it. Maybe that says more about my personality, my experience in my life, but that just gives off deadbeat dad vibes to me, and I was not a fan of that. And the military, in my entire mind when I was watching this movie, I totally expected them to be like the military. Though at one point when this crazy guy kind of kidnapped her before when they were splitting up, I totally thought he was going to use him as an experiment, something, and the military wasn't entirely telling the truth, and that's why they were going to that side of the island. And I was waiting for that. That never happened, but I was thinking that, like, are they going to go that route? They didn't, though. And they end up with the baby. There's so many logical questions in my mind involving the pregnancy. We learn that she died. She's a zombie. So my question is the health of the child. He kidnaps her, meaning this has been some time that he's found her, like he's lonely. How did the pregnancy grow? How does that health work? And that is where I'm at. Who helps her with the birth? How did that all go down? Now, the zombie stuff as well is interesting. We do get good grief with the zombies, and I do like that take, but I do have little questions with that. That's like a small thing, but I do like that take on it to a degree. But I just go back to the logical questions of pregnancy and health. A million questions of how that works. How is health? How are they getting that done? Is it human? Is it not? And this can obviously go track to 28 years later as well. It can. And I did grab that question too for a split second, but this mine does more for some reason. I can't wrap my head around how that works with health of the child and everything. But the way we find that out and her probably getting with the guy, I like that they didn't make them like all coupley towards the end, unless my mind is like forgetting a big thing. I do like that aspect, but I feel like I'm forgetting something. But overall, I think this is a very solid film. Grief at the Center was an interesting take on a zombie movie. And I know I've seen a lot of trauma films last year, and I was kind of hard on some movies more than others about it, but this is a very good movie. But it doesn't entirely land entirely one there. There are some logic questions that come to mind, and there were some moments of dialogue that they weren't great, but for the most part, a solid movie that doesn't entirely hit the nail of what they're trying for me. So comment down below if you saw We Bury the Dead and what you thought of the movie. Comment down below. I'll see you guys soon with a brand new video, because this month probably filled with a lot of movie reviews, as we have a lot of movies coming out in theaters this January. And this was a pretty solid start for a January horror movie. See you soon.